大谷翔平ニュースチャンネルへようこそ。
最新の大谷翔平移籍ニュース2023年7月18日。ジョン・モロ氏がボルチモア・オリオールズが大谷翔平と契約すべきではない理由を分析。次のビデオをご覧ください。
I'm back to work on a Monday, JP Morosi, with a few weeks until the deadline. This is the good stuff. Good morning to you. Robert said before the break, ShoheiOhtani to Baltimore? Question mark? And we both kind of said, you're trying to be sensational. Is he?
You said that. I didn't say
well,
it.
Dero and I kind of gave those like, come on, this guy. Is it true?
Good morning, everyone.
We're already arguing.
Let's get into Shohei here and talk about where he might be going. First of all, we're still not entirely sure that he's going anywhere, but as we reported last week, the Angels are listening. Okay, so we can establish that. They're listening. Now, when you talk about where he might go as a rental, the Orioles really do have a lot of appeal as a potential trade partner for the Angels because the Orioles have, and they're one of a handful of teams you can say this about, the kind of young talent, position player talent, even some pitching as well, that could entice the Angels to at least consider moving the great ShoheiOhtani. Again, it's not entirely clear that he's going to be moving anywhere, but look at these names on your screen, especially among the position players. This is the kind of trade partner who could really help the Angels remain a competitive team if they make the ShoheiOhtani trade. Now, I'll be very clear about this. The only way that it really makes sense for the Orioles to get Ohtani is if he's able to pitch often and well over the final 2 months of the regular season. And that right now is the one big question. We saw home run number 34 last night, but pitching has been an issue for Shohei in recent weeks because of a blister on his pitching hand. He's just thrown about 10 innings over the last 2+ weeks. And you see what's happened the last 2 times out. Again, he can still pitch brilliantly. We know that. But it's a matter of when he comes to a team, it means automatic 6-man rotation. And again, even with the extra rest, the blister has been problematic. So if Shohei continues to have any blister issues, Lauren, I would say if I'm the Orioles, they'd probably have to move on from thinking about Shohei and move more towards a team or a potential fit like a Michael Lorenzen with the Tigers, Giolito with the White Sox. The Baltimore's need right now is pitching. The position players are really good. So if the need is pitching, you're probably thinking more like Stroman, Giolito, Lorenzen than you would be with Shohei. Again, over the short term.
Like the Angels need more, the front office to complicate things. We will see. What about the Guardians front office, JP? Are they closer to figuring it out? And what does this Shane Bieber's injury mean in that situation?
Well, Lauren, it's a really important consideration there with Shane Bieber. Now, let's talk about the Bieber news first. Good news for them yesterday. He visited with Dr. Meister in Texas to see what was going on with the elbow. He had an elbow issue that has kept him out for a period of time. Terry Francona telling reporters yesterday, the good news is, for now, it appears that it is not going to need any sort of surgical addressing of that right elbow. So great news there for the Guardians. The less awesome news at the moment is they've lost 4 in a row. They're now 2.5 games back. And so the Guardians being sellers in the American League Central is becoming at least plausible, especially with Bieber out for likely the balance of the month of July. So the name to watch from a trade standpoint is no longer Bieber. We had talked about him as a trade candidate. This injury has sort of reduced that possibility now. But his longtime rotation mate, Aaron Savali, who was a free agent after 2025, so he'd have 2+ years of service left on a trade. If you want to go the controllable pitcher route, Savali's pitched well over the last month or so, Lauren. I do think Savali's name, if the Guardians continue to be a bit mediocre or below 500 at the deadline, look for Savali as a very interesting trade candidate.
Guardians at PNC Park tonight in Pittsburgh. JP, I buried the lead. You're going to Cooperstown. You lucky duck. You always get the best assignments. What are you looking forward to the most?
Well, the great Fred McGriff, and Lauren, he was someone who was a unanimous choice by the Veterans Committee to be a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame this year. So richly deserving, nearly 500 home runs in his career, all those 20 and 30 homer seasons. And many would say that a key moment in his career began when he was traded to the Atlanta Braves back in 1993, that blockbuster deal with the San Diego Padres, and of course his manager in Atlanta, Bobby Cox. Now, let's go back to the beginning. And a couple of days ago, I actually asked Fred McGriff about the long-time connection to Bobby Cox that went all the way back to 1982 when the Jays, then managed by Bobby Cox, traded for a very young Fred McGriff.
Well, I met Bobby Cox with the Toronto Blue Jays because Bobby was the manager with the Blue Jays back in 84, 85, 86. I think he left probably 85, 86. I may be wrong, but right in that time. But that's when I first met Bobby. I was going to big league spring training and so forth. And Bobby's just a good people. And over the years, you talk about like Bobby treated people the way he was going to treat, but Bobby was going to protect you. Now, Bobby was going to get tossed out of the game all the time. And I learned so much from him because he wanted to get tossed out because he didn't want his players to get tossed out because that's hurting the team if his players get tossed out. So Bobby's going to go run out there to home plate and argue with umpires so his players can stay in the game. And just the way he treated people, he was the man, and everybody knew Bobby was the man. So if somebody wasn't doing something right or whatever, Bobby was going to put a stop to it. So he's just a great individual.
伝説ルース&大谷翔平の超酷似スタッツを海外記者が指摘、2人のストーリーと米驚きの声。16日のアストロズ戦で34号。米大リーグエンゼルスの大谷翔平投手は16日、日本時間17日、本拠地アストロズ戦で34号ソロを放った。MLB 記者は、偶然にも伝説ベーブ・ルースと酷似した大谷のスタッツを紹介。二人の男のストーリーだ、アンビリーバブルと米ファンも驚きの声を上げていた。8対9とまさかの逆転負けを喫した試合で、9回に意地の34号を放った大谷。早くも昨季の自身の本塁打数に並んだ。ドミニカ人記者のヘクター・ゴメス記者は、元祖二刀流として知られるルースと大谷の似たスタッツをツイッターで指摘した。メジャー674試合の時点で、ルースは159本塁打、455投球回で35勝18敗と紹介。一方の大谷は、キャリア最初の674試合で160本塁打、455投球回で35勝19敗と伝えた。実際には大谷は673試合で161本塁打を放っているようだが、大谷のここまでの数字はルースとよく似ているようだ。米ファンからは、大谷は本物の野球選手たちとプレーしているが、ルースは配管工や大工たちとやっていたアンビリーバブル。大谷は子供の時から練習を積んで、$100万を支払われるワールドクラスの選手を相手にしている。ルースはちょっと野球をやっている配管工や牛乳配達人が相手だった。ベーブ・大谷・ルース、二人の男のストーリーだよ。ベーブ・ルースはこれを二日酔いの体重30ポンド、約14キロ、オーバーでやっていた。などと様々なコメントが書き込まれていた。
ニュースレターは終了しました。面白かったらチャンネル登録してお友達とビデオを共有してください。さようなら、また会いましょう。